Hi, and welcome to episode number 3 of the Psychological Survival series. Today we're talking about disassociation, which is a fancy term for freeze or flop, two other stress responses we have alongside fight or flight. Now, in the animal kingdom, freeze or flop looks like an animal has died, basically. Maybe it's been caught by a predator or it's being confronted by a predator, and the animal will, what we would say, play dead. It will fall over, it will go still, it will flop around. The opossum, if you Google it, is very, very good at this. It not only plays dead and looks dead, but it froths at the mouth and emits a smell that tells the predator that it is dead before it comes back to life. But there is one big kind of myth in this, if you do Google it, which is that a lot of the videos and the information talks about these animals playing dead or being nature's greatest actors. But the fact of the matter is, this isn't a choice. This isn't something that these animals choose to do. It's something that their stress response does in order to react to the danger. It literally shuts them down. They can't run, they can't fight this predator, so they're just their last option, really, of actual physical survival is to appear as if they've died. And they are completely out and unconscious. And it's not something that they choose to do. So, what does this look like in human beings? Well, it can take quite a lot of different forms when human beings experience that experience of something traumatic happened where they haven't got the power to run and they haven't got the power to fight back. Quite often, that's what child sexual abuse survivors will face. Quite often, it will be something we experience in our childhood because as children, we are often quite powerless to fight or run away. We don't often have that option. So, in human beings, our brain, our stress response will shut down our bodies and sometimes our minds in response to that danger. Lots of child sexual abuse survivors talk about this appearing as if like they're watching a movie of their experiences or an out of body experience, or they've gone into like a fantasy land, an imaginary land. And what happens here is that the stress response says, you know what, we can't cope with the danger here, we can't cope with the emotions and what's happening. So we're going to shut off your body, we're going to shut off the feeling, and we're going to disassociate. Now, that can have lots of impacts later on as an adult. Some people find it really hard to recall memories. They might talk about finding it hard to remember the details or the memories being really foggy. Some people talk about seeing their memories or their experiences as if separate to themselves, as if watching somebody else's life. And in its most severe form, disassociation can look like what it used to be called multiple personality disorder, but that's completely discredited now. The idea is that your parts of yourself split, that you have to separate out different parts of yourself to survive, and that way you don't have that wholeness of experiencing all of these things. These things happen to other parts of yourself, and dissociated disorder can result from that. So it's really important to know that disassociation, this idea that perhaps we can't remember things or we feel really numb from them or really separate from them, and in its worst form as a disorder, we feel really fragmented and fractured as a person, that there are different parts to ourselves, is a survival technique. It's a psychological survival technique. It's something that our brain will do to protect us from the overwhelming emotions, the shame, the blame, the humiliation, the powerlessness that we are experiencing in those traumatic experiences. So it's easy, I think, to be critical of ourselves. And it's easy to be critical of trauma survivors that they can't remember the details, they can't remember the where and the when and the how. But we have to remember that that is their way of coping with and surviving some of the most horrific things that can happen to us.